Good afternoon, I'm KHOU meteorologist Chris Ramirez with your extended forecast and our daily live stream update of what we're seeing across Houston. Good news is that we have seen mostly a rainy start to our day, but things have of course diminished across our area. This is a live look out of the Galleria. You're actually able to see the downtown Houston skyline, and there's no really rain involved in terms of that going into the next few hours. So as we look at the next few hours, expect those conditions to remain mostly still seeing some lingering showers. We're going to keep that weather impact alert in place at least until 5 o'clock this afternoon. And that's all because our grounds are very saturated. And so if we get any of these additional bands of showers that could move through, that could cause some ponding on roadways and some possible minor flooding in some locations. So looking at the radar right now, things in Houston coming to an end. We're about to see a good break in terms of the rain potential. We've seen that those gusty winds with those storms that are now approaching the Beaumont area. You're able to see that bow echo there. That bowing of those storms is really indicative of some pretty high winds that are now moving into portions of extreme southeast Texas. But the good news for us here across the Houston area is that we're not expecting to see really any more chance of some those heavier showers that we were dealing with a good hour or two ago. But looking at the rain today across Harris County, this is a look at our neighborhood weather network. We're expecting, we saw about up to 2 inches of rain at Chapel Gillen Court. This is out in the Energy Corridor. Ember Trails Court at 1.29 inches of rain, 1.3 inches of rain at Fresco Rills Drive. Out in northeast Houston, this is around just south of Lake Houston in the Summerwood neighborhood, 1.25 inches of rain at Baum-Hafford Court. Usually when we get the rain accumulations up to close to 2 inches, that's when we usually start seeing the ponding on roadways. And we saw that earlier today. The good news is that things are now going to start drying out as we progress through the afternoon. So future track showing mostly quiet rest of our afternoon, but that's not the case heading into the early hours of Thursday. Unfortunately, another round of storms that could be heavy rain, some gusty winds, as well as some possible dangerous lightning with another round of storms expected to move through into the early hours of Thursday. You had a dose of how this morning looked like, and so just kind of keep that in mind. As hard as it was to possibly drive through the conditions this morning, we are expecting another round of that heading into the early hours of Thursday. So keep that in mind. Give yourself enough time heading to and from work, as well as being extra cautious on the area roadways and highways, as the rain could be blinding in some locations, especially as we head into Thursday morning. This is going to start around 8 o'clock and then last at least through the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock hours. And then eventually by 4 p.m., we could see that rain come to an end. Somewhat similar like we saw today with those showers moving off towards the east. So just keep that in mind, that that rain potential could really just give us an excess of 1 to 2 inches of rain for tomorrow, as well as some isolated areas between 3 and 5 inches of rain in some locations. And so looking more so that that flooding concern could be a threat, even though that we don't see the gusty winds and the lightning with some of the storms as the hardest part of the storms moves through. So here's the flood risk for today. It's looking more likely that the flood risk will be diminishing for today because of the rain moving well off towards the east of the Houston area. But the Storm Prediction Center is still keeping us under a slight risk for severe weather. That does include all of southeast Texas. This is a flood risk for tomorrow. This is a 2 out of 4 on the flood index scale. And this is all a part of a low pressure system that is currently moving through Texas. It's sending a lot of these bursts of energy that are moving through with that low pressure system. It's a very slow moving system, and that's going to be moving off towards the east. Eventually, it still could spit out some of these unsettled weather storms going into Friday and into Saturday, which is likely the reason why we're going to keep that rain chance in the picture for Friday. And unfortunately, we could see some rain chances lasting into Father's Day weekend. So here's a look at your 7-day forecast. We are expecting mostly warm conditions. We're highlighting Wednesday, Thursday, Friday in red. But we're issuing that weather impact alert for Thursday, as we could see another round of widespread storms in the early hours of Thursday. So definitely keep that in mind if you are heading out the door tomorrow morning. as we progress through the morning. Roadways could be wet. We could see some blinding rains as well as some gusty winds, some dangerous lightning like we saw today. So another round of storms possible heading into tomorrow morning, and that's going to last at least through the noon hour. So here's a live look right now looking out at the Galleria. You see the Williams Tower. You see skies are still cloudy. But the fact that you're able to still see downtown out in the distance, that's just a good indication that the rain has stopped. We're not seeing any rain for the most part across the Houston area. It's coming to an end. It's more isolated in nature. So all of the ponding that we've seen, I know our Orca Manna was traveling across town looking at those flooded frontage roads along the major highways. This is a good chance for those to drain off. So this is very good news for us as we head into the rest of this afternoon. And so looking at radar right now, the strongest part of the storms that we're moving through are well off towards the east of us. They are now moving through the Beaumont area, and it's looking more likely that we are going to see pretty much everything come to an end for the rest of the afternoon. We can't rule out another isolated maybe shower or two or an isolated downpour later on this afternoon, but just keep in mind that we are expecting roadways to still remain wet as we head into between the 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock hours. So taking a closer look at Houston, we're seeing still some lingering showers out in Katy, Sugar Land, Spring, even along I-45, Huntsville, Montgomery, Cleveland, Livingston, Liberty areas to the northeast of town, still enduring some moderate to heavy rainfall. But that rain for the Houston metro coming to an end as of now, and so hopefully we could get a little bit of a break of what we saw this morning. And so we're not looking at any gusty winds. We just saw the rain accumulations get up to close to 2 inches in some locations, and so when it gets up to the 2-inch range, that's when we usually see that ponding on roadways and possible road flooding, especially in those low-lying areas. And you know, it's Houston. It doesn't take much for those roads to become flooded in some of those locations, especially where there's a lot of concrete across the central portions of the city. So it's just a sort of recap. What we're expecting to see at least for the next 24 to 48 hours is that for today, it's looking for the most part that most of the shower and storm activity coming to an end. We're going to have a quiet night tonight, but it's in the early hours tomorrow morning is that we are expecting another round of some heavy rain and storms, and these could be a bit gusty. These could have severe potential with these storms as they make their way through the Houston area. So it's looking more likely that we're going to have another messy morning for tomorrow. So give yourself enough time. Don't travel if you don't have to. Maybe just schedule those appointments later in the day, because we are expecting tomorrow morning to look very dicey once again like we saw this morning. So if you were stuck in those showers and storms this morning, you already had a dose of that, and we're expecting that once again tomorrow, and that's going to start around 8 o'clock, moving through the Houston area between 11-12 p.m. and then eventually moving off towards the east, pushing off towards Louisiana, and eventually we could still see some lingering showers, but it's looking likely that another round of storms likely for tomorrow morning, as well as we are continuing to see this unsettled weather pattern unfold that we've been warning you about for the past few days. And so just keep in mind, grounds are already fairly saturated for the rain that we've seen for the past few days. So additional rain could cause some possible flooding in some locations. So turn around, don't drown. Give us enough space between yourselves and the cars in front of you. Even though that the freeways don't flood, we usually could see the water running over the freeways. And so if you're going fast enough, you can actually still hydroplane. So make sure to lower your speed if you are traveling on our area freeways for tomorrow morning if you are caught in these storms, because it doesn't take much to cause an accident for us as we progress through and deal with these heavy rain and showers. So flooding potential likely to be decreasing for today. The rain coming to an end, but we're still expecting that flood risk to be in place for tomorrow. That's a slight risk, a 2 out of 4. And so another round of storms possible as this low pressure system that is giving us our unsettled weather pattern pushes out of Texas, moving through closer to Louisiana. But as long as that low pressure system is above us over portions of the northern part of the state, we're still going to continue to see it spit out these disturbances, these shortwave disturbances that are moving through. So we have another one in place for tomorrow, and we could see another one in place going into Friday. So rain remaining in the picture at least through Friday and into the weekend. But as far as that 7-day forecast, expect those conditions to remain mostly just wet and rainy across the area. And it's looking more likely that these showers are happening in the early parts of the day, but in our nights are going to remain mostly quiet. But if you have those outdoor plans plans, especially for Father's Day. Just keep that in mind that we could see some of those conditions become a bit more widespread and stormy for the weekend as this weather pattern continues to track across the area. So 7-day forecast, highs in the 90s, lows in the 70s, overnight lows we're still remaining mostly muggy and humid across our area. And so we are once again keeping that weather impact alert for Thursday that is in place, as we are going to see another round of widespread showers and storms in the early hours of Thursday. And then eventually Friday, we could see another disturbance to keep those conditions and those roadways wet. And then by this weekend, 50% chance of showers and storms. It's not going to be as widespread, but we still could see a downpour or two heading into the weekend for Father's Day. And as always, we are tracking the latest forecasts on KHOU.com. We're giving you the latest weather updates. You can find the latest weather information on the KHOU 11 app. So make sure to download that so you can have it all right on your mobile device or your tablet. So again, I'm meteorologist Chris Ramirez with your live stream update. Just sharing the good news that things are tapering down and calming down here across the Houston area. So be safe out there, especially on those roadways as they remain wet.